everybody, I'm Jammer, and welcome to my much anticipated review of Super Mario Odyssey for Nintendo Switch. It's here, it's time to talk about my thoughts, and before we even say a word, there will be no spoilers. The only kingdoms I will show gameplay of is stuff we've already seen in previews and trailers, so you don't need to worry about any spoilers there. Same goes for costumes, enemies, bosses, all that stuff. All the content in this video will be non-spoiler, so if you haven't beaten the game entirely or haven't even touched it at all yet, you will be safe in watching this review. Now that that's out of the way, let's get right into it. So first off, my background on the Mario series. I've always been primarily a 3D Mario fan. I loved Sunshine growing up, and I also very much enjoyed going back and playing 64. The Galaxy games, on the other hand, I'm a little bit lukewarm to. I did love the aesthetic, and the music was by far the best parts of those games. But for me anyways, it kind of lost a little bit something when it went to a more linear level progression, and especially the map selection from Mario Galaxy 2. I was more used to 64 and Sunshine, where you're in an actual believable world, and the platforming elements were blended into that world. Galaxy admittedly had better platforming sections, however the levels, they felt like levels rather than real places. That's why going into Odyssey, I was super excited. It definitely seemed like the game was going back to the roots of what Sunshine and 64 introduced, as well as bringing tons of new gameplay opportunities into this game. Okay, let's start with the pros. First and foremost, I want to talk about the controls. They're fantastic. I've never felt so in control of Mario up until this game. In my opinion, Galaxy had a little bit of a momentum issue. Of course, Sunshine had the flood mechanics, which kind of altered the gameplay on its whole. And then 64, while still good, has definitely aged. In my opinion anyways, this is the best Mario has ever controlled. And especially with all of these tons of moves he has, it really offers a bunch of new gameplay options. Being able to jump off Cappy to get to new heights, spin him around or throw him as a projectile, all this in combination with Mario's previous abilities really revolutionizes how you play him here. Once you get the hang of him, it feels so natural. When you get in a groove of platforming a really fast section and you're pulling off tons of different moves in order to tackle certain obstacles, it feels awesome. I'll talk a little bit more about this later, but I've noticed that there will be specific platforming challenges that definitely look like they're intended to be progressed in one fashion. However, after playing around a little bit with some of my abilities, you can actually cheat your way across, really not going down the intended path and still getting to the objective. In a way, I feel like it was designed this way so that players could experiment and really master their control of Mario, and they're rewarded that way by being able to complete areas faster. While we're on the topic, the capture ability is awesome. It offers such a variety to gameplay and really mixes with, how you're playing the game. At one moment, you'll be playing as Mario with all your standard abilities, and the next moment you're a Goomba, or a frying pan throwing hammer bro. Throughout the game, you never really know what you're going to run into next, what enemy you're going to be able to capture and play as next. And these capture abilities, they aren't just a gimmick, which is really awesome. There are platforming sections intentionally designed for specific capture abilities. It really pushes the player to learn not only how to control Mario, but how he plays in his capture abilities as well. These areas can offer up moons and other hidden collectibles. And that is one thing about this game that really did impress me. I've never been one for, let's collect all 100 of whatever collectible, like in Donkey Kong 64 or Banjo-Kazooie. I don't know, it just never really appealed to me. I've never been one in really any game that's tried to collect all of one certain collectible. However, here in Odyssey, I found myself addicted to collecting those regional coins. And I think it's because they tied it with such an awesome reward. You're able to exchange these purple regional coins at a shop to unlock exclusive costumes, stickers, and little furniture pieces for your Odyssey. It was these cosmetic rewards that gave true incentive to really go out of your way and get every single one of these purple coins. And that's something no other game has convinced me of yet, so that's a compliment on its own. Okay, so now let's talk more story and level design. The start of the game is so simple. It gets you right in the action. Mario must save Peach. But that's all you really need to come to expect when it comes to a Mario game anyways. As far as level progression, it's weird. It is linear, you do go from kingdom to kingdom, but each kingdom itself has a simulated open world feel. How it's structured is you'll arrive at a kingdom, then there are X amount of moves required to move on to the next one. And how it was woven into the story, it really did feel like you're on a globe-trotting adventure with Mario and Cappy. There are a few instances of freedom of choice, where you can select to go one kingdom over the other, but eventually they're still bottlenecked down the same route. What was really refreshing was that the level design was all very unique, with different aesthetics and different objectives. A pitfall that they definitely dodged was they did a great job making each kingdom feel different from the next. Not just visually, of course, but as far as main objectives. I've played games in the past where wherever you visit a new area, it's really just the same song and dance every time. You talk to this one person, you do something for this person, they tell you they need to help the village do this, you take down the boss, you save the place, move on. And that's not the case here in Mario Odyssey. Each kingdom has its own unique bosses, objectives, and all the sorts. It makes them all feel so different from one another, making each its own memorable experience. And speaking of bosses, without spoilers of course, the Brutals could have easily been the Koopalings, and I have to compliment Nintendo for not reusing those guys again, and it's so refreshing to see some new faces here in the Mario game. I think on its whole, the story and the progression through the game really does work. It complements the gameplay well and really does immerse the player. So let's move to some of the cons now. And again, before I even start, remember all of the praise I just gave it in the last few minutes of this video. I don't hate Mario Odyssey, but it's definitely not a perfect game. There are some things that could have been changed to maybe enhance the experience. So the main quest, quote unquote, it's on the shorter side. It's intentionally designed this way because the bulk of the game is really going out and collecting all of the moons. It's totally fine because that's the main objective of this game. But I couldn't help but feel like I got through the main campaign a lot quicker than I expected. I can't tell if it's actually on the shorter side, or maybe me as a player, my skills have developed, so I'm better at games like this. I'm not entirely sure, but it did seem to go by a little fast for me. There's still plenty to do after you finished it, so it's not like I'm done with the game now. I have tons still to do. But I wouldn't have minded that story-driven part of the game being a bit longer. A fix I had for this could maybe be a higher moon threshold required before you could move on to the next kingdom. This could pace out the game more by players spending a little bit more time in each kingdom before moving on to the next. How it's currently structured too is that big moons, the big triple moons or whatever, they aren't actually required to move on to the next kingdom. So you actually don't have to complete the main objectives of that kingdom before moving on to the next. If you can supplement the required amount of moons to move on to the next kingdom by grabbing other various moons throughout the place, you don't have to tackle those other story beats. Like for speedrunning anyways, this is actually awesome. You can optimize your route and customize it any way you want by just getting the fastest moons possible. I guess it's kind of cool that the story beats aren't necessarily required in order to progress through the game. I guess a better way of saying this is the game doesn't force you to play out these sequences. But maybe it should? I don't know. It's kind of a weird thing to think about. But I guess what I'm trying to say is I wouldn't have minded a bigger moon count threshold before moving on to the next kingdom, so then it kind of forced you to play that kingdom a little bit longer before moving on to the next. So this game is really, really good. It is a solid 3D platformer, it is awesome. But I don't know what I was expecting. It's an unfair comparison to compare Mario Odyssey to Breath of the Wild. However, in a way they are kind of similar. They're Nintendo's two biggest IPs, their newest entries on the Switch, returning to their roots, chasing that gameplay, so they kind of serve the same function for each respective series. For me anyways, Breath of the Wild just redefined the open world genre, while Odyssey is exactly what it is. It's a really amazing platformer. I'm not saying that Odyssey needs to redefine the 3D platforming genre, and I'm not saying they didn't make a solid experience with this game. I guess what I'm saying is expectations going into Odyssey shouldn't be that it's going to be revolutionary, at least for me personally anyways. I might need to take some more time to think about this specific aspect a little bit more, and I will do a follow-up video in the coming weeks once my thoughts have really defined on it. This isn't necessarily a big con against the game or anything for that regard, because like I said, this is still a fantastic 3D platformer. I don't know, it's a weird situation, but it's definitely something to think about. Overall, Mario Odyssey is an experience that must not be missed. Truth is, I'm rather jealous of today's kids. Having Super Mario Odyssey as the Mario game they grew up with, I am so jealous. I couldn't even imagine having this in my hands as a child, playing through these giant kingdoms, collecting all these cool outfits for Mario to dress up in, and even having the option to collect different moons instead of ones that I had to that I maybe had more difficulty in. I really did love Super Mario Odyssey. Mario has never felt so good to control. His new toolbox of moves offers so many new gameplay options, and the capture ability really complements that. The collectibles really have true purpose, offering these really fun, crazy cosmetic rewards to collect. The story, while simple, gets you right in the action and immerses you into the experience of going on a worldwide trip with Mario and Cappy. The level design is all unique, very different aesthetics, objectives, and it doesn't feel like you're repeating the same stuff every time in each place you visit. Sure, the main quest is a little short, but it's intentional. The main point of this game is to be collecting all of the moons. This is a really, really solid game, and it's really hard to say it's not my favorite 3D Mario title. I can't wait to see what else we will discover throughout the life of this game. It is a fantastic 3D platformer, and the barrier of entry is very easy, offering up many options for different players of different skill. I'm curious, guys, what do you guys think about Mario Odyssey? Definitely let me know in the comments. Be sure to give this video a big awesome like, and if you haven't already, definitely subscribe for tons more on Super Mario Odyssey and other Nintendo Switch content. Thanks again, guys, so much for watching, and I will catch you in the next one. See ya!